that you will get attached to me, but as a friend on a deeper level, because then sex is involved. So if you need sex, just have it with me and I do with you, and you'll see how it will help you. Then we will keep our coach-client relationship because I don't want to lose you as a client. And then she literally says, I've just had all my coaches want to sleep with me, so this time I don't want to add that in, which is, I mean, that right there, when I read that, I'm like, wow, that's more indicative of the larger problem in the industry that maybe isn't being talked about enough.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Blood, Sweat, and Gear with coaches Skip Hill and Andrew Berry. I'm Scott McNally. All of our programming is brought to you by TrueNutrition.com. You can use our code THINK for additional savings. Hit me up if you have any questions about any other supplements. Check out the Team Skip Protein Blend. I'm still doing the marshmallow treat, but I still think that chocolate peanut butter cup is my ultimate favorite. I gotta say that. I gotta tell you, Skip.
Really?
Yeah, I do. Guys, we're also brought to you by supplementsource.ca. Check them out if you're in Canada. I've literally seen pre-workouts for like $15. I saw Carbolin the other week for like $30 off. So you can't beat their prices. Plus, you know, they support us. You can help to support us by supporting them. And if you're in the UK, check out Strom Sports Nutrition. They've got awesome health supplements. If you guys are in the UK, you already know about Strom, so I don't need to tell you anything more. Guys, we have a bunch of stuff going on. We're going to have a physique critique. We have a bunch of listener questions, things that you guys commented on the last show. Speaking of which, if you want to take part in the next show, comment below. We'd love to have you as part of the programming. By the way, thank you to everybody who's watching live from the Facebook group today. We're going to have some fun, record a couple episodes, and hang out with you. But before we get to all of that, we've got what could be like a controversial topic. I really think after talking to you, Andrew, this is something that really kind of needs to be said. I feel like it's a type of education that people who are going to work with a coach should have. As coaches ourselves, it really upsets me to see people taken advantage of and to give our professions a bad name. So really, I mean, what do you call the topic here? Is this like shady coaches, really, is what it comes down to.
Coaches, predator coaches. And I think when I first sent this stuff to you like a week ago, I don't think you guys were really sold on it. Like, I don't think you really understood what this guy was doing and what maybe some of these other coaches are doing. But then I sent you some of those messages that I had gotten from a friend, and I think it kind of became apparent.
You know what, man? I before you even sent it to me, I got it and I understood it. And I knew that this stuff happens, and I just kind of have turned away and been like, well, you know what? I'm not a part of that. That's not my problem. Sucks to be, that guy. He's a fucking, loser. Yeah. And I hope he burns in hell. Move on with my day, But the reality is, though, that I think that there's some innocent people that have gotten themselves into positions where they've been taken advantage of, and that really does bother me. And if anything, we try to educate people with our programming, and if we could help people to be more aware, to not put themselves into a vulnerable position, then we're definitely still doing a really good thing with our show. So that's where my stance is at this point,
Sure. We should probably talk about what we're talking about.
Yeah, lay it on us.
So, yeah. All right, so many of our listeners and followers probably follow some of the same people we follow on Instagram, but one of my friends, John Dorsey, who goes by @Goobu, what he does is he kind of highlights.
He's ruthless
in the fitness industry. Yeah, he's ruthless. You guys probably watch some of his stuff, but he goes after frauds in the terms of people editing their photos, photoshopping, making themselves look bigger, their waist look smaller, leaner than they are, etc. And he doesn't hold back with anybody. It could be an amateur or a coach who's using his pictures to get clients, to top IFBB professionals that are editing their pictures to look better and their competitors next to them to look worse, and then kind of putting it out like, well, how did this girl beat me, kind of thing. But one of the topics that he does, that he did this week, was on a bodybuilder, and I'm going to use his name because it's out there in black and white. We do hear a lot of these things in the industry, but we can't necessarily judge or point them out because we haven't seen the direct evidence ourselves. But in this case, it's pretty clear. Bodybuilder Sam Canando, he's kind of a predator to his female clients, or not kind of, but he is.
Should we say allegedly? Like,
not when it's in print like that.
You know, it's funny. It's
can
semantics because the text messages and all the messages are right there. So technically, it's allegedly because well, I don't want to give any ideas, but yeah, allegedly it is. But it's all right. It's about as allegedly as Jimmy and Phil with the text messages. I mean, you can call it what you want, but it's right there. And you know what? People can make up their own minds because it's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, the point being, you know, telling female clients that they need to check in nude, making sexual advances towards his female clients, commenting on their physiques in a way that is very unbecoming of a coach, very unprofessional, you know, talking to them sexually. And I think, you know, the three of us and many of the coaches we know that we count as friends in this industry, that is the last thing that any of us are interested in doing in terms of putting someone in a position to feel that they're being taken advantage of. Like, these people are paying somebody. Yeah. These people are paying somebody for their expertise to get them into better shape, whether it's, you know, your housewife who just wants to lose 15 pounds and look better for the summer to top competitive bodybuilders who, you know, want to one day grace the Olympia stage. So I think with that, I think we should show some of these pictures just in case some of the people have not been able to watch the videos that Goob's done.
All right. So I'm just going to grab these screen caps you sent me.
While you're putting those up there, I got to ask you guys this. When you read the comments, I'll just speak for myself, I guess, but I'm asking you if you felt the same way. It really wasn't like you were reading messages from a coach. You were almost reading messages from like an interested like boyfriend or someone who had just met a woman. And the complimentary, creepy, weird. Yeah, that's where it comes in. When you go, oh my God, this is a coach, like for real.
Yeah. That's a good point, man.
Now, you know, in some of the stuff, you know, he's not from this country, so maybe there is a little bit of a language barrier in terms of, you know, some of the syntax of the language. But I agree with you. Like, the vibe wasn't, you know, talking to a coach. It was the vibe of like talking to a potential boyfriend or something like that in a lot of these cases. Yeah. But I think if you look at the first slide on the left, you know, he's asking for what he needs as a coach. Now, me personally, I don't think it's very professional to do this kind of talk through DM and text message. That's just me. I want to go through email. But that's, you know, that might just be my issue.
No, I agree with you. That's a legal thing that you're covering yourself with communication, but it is to someone who maybe he hasn't been training people a long time, new client, new coaches, they will do things a different way. But I agree with you. It's far more, if anything ever comes back on you, that can be far more admissible and easier to get into court than something that you're either text messaging or you know, any other WhatsApp or any other bullshit. But anyway,
I generally try to lay it out in an email, and I'll say, like, here's what we want. But then after that, if somebody needs clarification, I use WhatsApp and I will text from there, but I never use social media as a, you know, and like,
for me, I'm just too.
Sorry. I was just going to say too, like, this is him explaining, this is like, well, if you're, tell me, like, let's go over this, because we do have audio listeners too, Andrew. So what are we looking at here?
This is like his, I would call it like the first email he sends, or sorry, the first, in his case, text messages he sends people, you know, but onboarding, basically, telling them what to expect, how to check in. Yeah. Do you want me to read it?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. So for me as a coach, I need none clothes. And this is where you need to be okay with that, because I need to see literally everything to see where you're holding your fat or your water. If you aren't comfortable with that, then it'd be hard to work, but we can still work together. It's just hard for me to see. It's kind of like going to the doctor to get a boob job and tell him you can't show him your boobs. See what I mean? Photos and text will be confidential and sent to my client-based phone with the number I will give you. So I think right off the bat, I mean, it's not the same thing as going to a professional doctor who does breast augmentation.
Thank you for clarifying. Yeah.
That's not even close to the same. That's not a good analogy whatsoever. Okay?
Well, and even if he can get by with that on the first text message, to compare himself to a medical doctor with that type of integrity, just wait till you get to the second or third text message page, and you'll see that that's not the case.
Yeah. So, all right, I'll continue. But actually, the other thing, you don't need to see everything. Like, I'm sorry, but there's no way you need to see nipple fat, or there's no way you need I won't get us demonetized, but there's no way you need
to
inspect every area of somebody's body to determine if they are going to be in show condition or not. Like that's, and you know what? Maybe there are some people that are new to the sport that are naive, or they just want to fall in line and do what this coach says. I feel bad for them though, and I hope that this
and that's
podcast will help them.
Exactly.
No. Again, about the photos will be confidential and never exposed, and they are stored in a coach and client base only phone. This is mainly just for me to see your progress and only me. Added another and me. Okay. Once I see, I'll always share with you where more works needs to be done. But then again, if you are not comfortable with this, then by all means, we can work with what you feel comfortable with, and we can go from there. Thank you again, and let me know what you want to do, ma'am. Have a good night. I tell all my clients if they aren't comfortable with the photos, go to a Victoria's Secret and buy a disposable panties they sell and wear those. So then he just continues to kind of ask that person, hey, are you interested? Are you interested? And this particular person was very turned off by the nude photography. She said she was going to find a coach that didn't require that.
Yeah, he was really focused on that, like, if you're going to work with me, you're going to have to, be okay with this. And he's like, and then he went into great detail, didn't he, about what you're going to have to be okay with.
Funny is he goes, oh, I never said nude. I asked for none clothed. What's the difference there? I mean, I feel like that's basically saying the same thing, but I think those are good. There's some other pictures or some other messages I sent you.
All right, if we're gonna bring those up, let's see. Here's another one.
Some of the responses, though, I think that's what the main thing. Okay. All right, so this woman, there's several of this from this woman, and she checked in with him. Sorry about the beanie. Snowed here and it's freezing in my house. So his comment and response is, damn, babe, you look hot. Like, so good. Beanie looks sexy on you. Hell yes, on the beanie. I'm amazed how good you're looking. I love the nails, by the way. Can't go wrong with the French. Now,
totally a medical doctor. Like, come on. This adds up. Yeah, I mean, I know I've gotten that from my medical doctor before.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
You do wear beanies.
I mean, nothing more needs to be said. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5.5 to 6 sexual innuendos there that he's dropping on her.
Yeah. I like damn babe. Like, you're going to call your client. You're going to call your client. But I get irritated when I go into the tanner and the 16-year-old girl calls me hun.
Yeah.
Like, we don't know each other. I don't need your patronizing. I'm old, but you don't need to patronize me. Don't even say that shit.
Yeah. Is this the same? Is this the same one here? No, this is
but there's more comments. I think.
Sorry, Salate. This was. I just put another one up here. This was the next one down.
Oh yeah, this is the same person. So she checked in again the following week. God, babe, you look beautiful. So there's that babe again. Right?
Godly.
I think he meant the right God.
Yeah.
But,
okay.
Every time something is wrong, I'm going to say sick. So just ignore me because it's driving me nuts. But go ahead.
Absolutely beautiful. Not just fit and ripped, but your body looks beautiful. Like, don't take this in a pervert way because it's not what I mean. But when I look at your body, looks desirable, if that makes sense.
Sick.
Like, you don't look bulky or overly muscular or nasty drugged up. You look perfect. Now, I think clients are looking for a little bit of our opinion on how they're looking, but not in that respect, right? And honestly, I'm surprised this woman checked in with him more than once, to tell you the truth, after that first one. Unless, maybe, I don't know. So this one, I think this is a continuance of the conversation, and he asked her, how old are you? I forgot to ask, and you said you weigh 120, right? Now I'm wondering if he's asking if this is a younger person, just to make sure they're over the legal limit. But anyway, he continues, I get so mad, and this is just a side note, but I get so mad when women want to pretend like they don't want sex, even though their sex drive is high. I'm single, and I only have been single for a couple months, and I've been trying to meet, I think he continues on to say, new people.
Yeah.
But then anyway, he continues on and says, anyways, I'm happy your sex drive is there, and and I'm sure your boyfriend enjoys the heck out of it, but I was sorry it wasn't high, because then that means your hormones are screwed up. So there's one professional analysis of that whole conversation in the end. The technical term is screwed up, in referring to the hormones. But, yeah.
All right. I'll grab that next one. And
I'll just skip down. Yeah. There's a lot of banter back and forth, but listen, Friday, I want you to take photos with the same underwear and top and naked because I want to see the difference in a week. Also, do them empty stomach, please, and send me your weight with it. So just asking for another naked one. Let's go on to the next series. There's one where he straight up tells a girl that she should have sex with him.
All right, I didn't read all of them, so I'm not sure which one that was. Was this? I'll just grab them one at a time.
Yeah, it's on this line.
Okay.
Yeah, just go ahead and let's put up the next one.
Okay.
So anyway, what we're doing is we're sharing like a series of conversations here that these women had sent to Goop. Oh, anyway, so he was also ripping off his place of employment.
Allegedly.
But in here it says he's telling the female client to come get some GW cartering, basically. And he says, come on Sunday night so I can give it to you super cheap when Marlo isn't there. Also, will you come Sunday for progress? You will come Sundays for progress pics, babe, so he's not there either. So why would you, if you're doing your job professionally, not want the owner of the business to be there while you're doing your quote-unquote professional progress pictures? Unless you're doing
I know.
Skip.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he wants to have sex. I'm pretty sure that's what he wants.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's, yep. Yeah, keep going off this one.
All right. Here's
and my laughing is an attempt at levity. It's not in any way condoning before anybody, any listeners jump on me for having a shitty sense of humor about it. That's all it is. I in no way condone this behavior.
Yeah.
No. All right, this is the last one I wanted to, actually the second to last one, because there's one more. Basically, he's talking to a client, and he goes that you will get attached to me, but as a friend on a deeper level, because then sex is involved. So if you need sex, just have it with me, and I do with you, and you'll see how it will help you. Then we will keep our coach-client relationship because I don't want to lose you as a client. And then she literally says, I've just had all my coaches want to sleep with me, so this time I don't want to add that in, which is, I mean, that right there, when I read that, I'm like, wow, that's more indicative of the larger problem in the industry that maybe isn't being talked about enough. Yeah. And he continues to say, all I'm trying to do is help you, Tatiana, but you definitely need to let go of probably an ex-boyfriend's name there. Yeah. And allow yourself to find the man you want. Yeah, the rest of this isn't important.
That's right.
Just the fact that the fact that he's literally one of the string of coaches she's had in a row that have tried to sleep with her. Like, that's just crazy.
Yeah.
Let me throw something in here too, because somebody like this doesn't approach every female client like that.
I was thinking about that.
He goes after, he can't. He won't go after the strong ones who tell him to go fuck himself and they're going to out him and everything. It's a feel. It's almost like this fucking vibe that they can almost pick out. And I hate to say this word, but I'm sorry because I can't think of a better one. There's almost a weakness. Okay, it's almost like I know that that's a shitty word because then it implies that in some way
that's what a predator is always looking for. The woman
is the cause that they're being a victim, but that's not the case. All it is they're not as forward and as fuck you and that sort of thing. So they can pick. It's similar to a guy or similar to a person sexually abusing a child. It's a same thing, like a teenager or something, where they know or they have an idea that they can keep their mouth shut or that they're in some way intimidated by them or sycophantic in a sense. Maybe that's not exactly the word, but there is an obsequious, sycophantic type of vibe that they get. Otherwise, they wouldn't risk being outed.
Yeah.
And God knows this motherfucker didn't just start doing this.
I will say, I like this last one. I like this last one because he picked the wrong chick. And
she starts giving it back to him.
Yeah. I don't know exactly what on there he said, but he must have gotten really mad at her to the point where he's saying in all these fake ass braids, LMAO, dirty ass hair of yours. Like he's like yelling at her. Like this is abuse. Okay, flat up. This is abuse all the way down to. Using the N-word against this woman. Like,
yeah, I assume this client was a black female.
Yeah.
And, that he probably tried to get with, and she probably rejected him. We don't have the full, string of comments, but you can kind of deduce that something went wrong in their relationship, and it culminated with him dropping the N-word with a hard R, by the way, on her. So
I have a feeling,
hard, yes.
Yeah, I have a feeling she didn't want to play ball with that. Is what that came down to, and she probably. My guess is she called him out. That's what I would guess in a situation like that, at least.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
I guess, I mean, where do we want to go from here? Because one of my questions is, what can we do to help our community? Because this is fucked up, and I don't want to see this continue to happen. I don't want to see people getting hurt. Like, this is a fun sport. I love bodybuilding, and I want everybody who gets into it to have the opportunity to have a great experience versus some people, they might run into a coach like that and be like, you know what, this isn't for me, and walk away and then, get cheated out of that experience. So how can we help people?
Well, I think
the clients have to open their mouths.
Well, yeah,
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think you said bodybuilding is a fun sport, right? And it is, but for the three of us on this podcast, it's a professional business, and we treat it as such. And we treat it the same way as if we were carpenters or we were school teachers or whatever line of business, And I look at it this way. It's awareness. Like okay, we just had our roof done today, right? Well, if the roof starts leaking in 3 days, I'm going to absolutely say something to other people who maybe inquire with me about, how did that company do on the roofing job? So I think it's the awareness, talking about this kind of stuff. And I even talking to Goob last week, kind of got some ideas about maybe starting some type of database of coaches and clients. And I know Adam McVeigh tried to do this a couple years ago, but he wanted to charge money, right, from the coaches, like $30 a month or something like that to get judged or whatever. But maybe like a database where someone can put the coach or the client's name, because I'm including clients in there also, and then just maybe your experience with them, or maybe things they did wrong, like, hey, this guy asked me for pictures nude, or this guy just wouldn't not let me take 2,000 milligrams of Tren a week, or whatever,
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Even, and I completely agree with you, 100%. But I just think, too, that if clients, because I think this happens a lot, it happens in society outside of our industry, too. If something bad happens to you, if someone treats you like shit, sometimes it's just like, oh, it's not even worth it. I'm going to walk the other way. And that leaves the door open for them to continue to, whether it's a business, a person who's a trainer, a roofer, or anything like that. It's all the same shit. And I think when we do, I almost feel an obligation myself personally to, some people will think, well, you're just going after this guy. I feel obligated that we do that. And if something else comes up next week, there needs to be more of this. But it would be better coming from the clients. Because when it comes from trainers, sometimes it can be misconstrued to be like, oh, you're jealous, or he's got this, or he's a pro in his physique and you can't stand, or you had a client that went to him. I don't know. There's a million different fucking things. But when it comes from a client and then there becomes a pattern, then that says a lot. And especially with social media, I think that if there was this egregious behavior and there was a pattern to it, I do think that those coaches would get attention. Yeah. I don't think it would be lost in the shuffle. But the database is a good idea. You just got to get somebody to do it, and you got to get somebody to do it for free. And it's hard to get people to do shit for free these days.
I might do a Patreon.
Okay. What do you?
It's not a bad idea.
What do you think about? I wanted to ask a question. Andrew and I were on the phone for a minute earlier today, talking about doing this topic. You had mentioned another situation with a coach that had a non-disclosure agreement that his clients had to sign.
I'm not going to name.
Yeah, but I had a question with that, though.
Some of these other stories.
Yeah, just because, and there's a lot of other ones.
I haven't seen concrete evidence.
But let me ask you, I have seen a lot of different non-disclosure agreements and stuff, and I wanted to ask your opinions. I mean, obviously, that puts you as a client into a position where you would feel like, oh, I legally can't say anything now. But what do you even think about those agreements? Do you guys have agreements like that, or do your clients have to post 3 social media posts and tag you every week?
No.
Okay.
No, the client's job is not to promote me. If they want to,
right? And the waivers and the disclosures. I mean, you're talking about, at least most of us, if you're good and you've been around for a while, you're working internationally anyway. So not only are waivers useless in the United States, other than them basically just being a deterrent, but really legally, good luck with that. But outside the United States, you're at the mercy of whichever international law. I mean, come on, over a trainer. Look, I'm not saying it can't happen. All I'm saying is they got bigger fish to fry and other things going on. And I think, honestly, that's what pushes some of this behavior, not only training people, but even scamming people. What are the repercussions? I mean, is anybody really going to be able to run you down? Probably not. The only other concern I have with the database is this. What if you have, because I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility that newer trainers could go after other trainers to kind of discredit, or how do you keep the credibility? And these are questions obviously that would need to be worked. But how do you keep the credibility of the actual allegations? You could literally ruin someone who didn't do anything wrong. So then you have to wonder, is there an opportunity for that person to come back and explain and be like, are you kidding me? This is what happened. Or is it just matter of fact, that's the allegation and it's stuck to that person? I don't know. There's gray areas there.
Alfonso's with us as a lawyer, and he says an agreement that violates the law isn't valid. There you go. Hey guys, I'm going to take a brief pause to shout out our advertisers. I'm going to try to make this quick, but keep in mind they're responsible for helping us to put these shows out. If you guys want to support our programming, of course you can do so through Patreon, and thank you to everybody who supports the show through Patreon. I will have links to that below, as well as to all of our advertisers. If you shop with our advertisers, you'll get great products that I stand behind, and you'll also be supporting our programming. First of all, check out TrueNutrition.com if you're in the US. I use their hydrolyzed beef collagen every day, and I use their citrulline malate, beta-alanine, and EAA on days that I train. They have high-quality protein powders and tons of flavors. Hit me up if you have any questions. Use our code THINK over there. You'll get some additional savings, plus you'll support our programming, and you'll get some high-quality, third-party tested supplements. If you're in Canada, check out supplementsource.ca. They have blowout deals on top name brand supplements. They constantly have different things happening, so be sure to go to their site and check them out. I recently saw Carbolin for like $30 off. I mean, you really can't beat those prices. Plus, they have free shipping over $99. If you're in the UK, then you probably already know about Strom Sports. They're one of the leader in health supplements in the United Kingdom. Strom Sports Nutrition has standalone supplements like NAC and Tutka, and they have finished blends like Support Max, a high-quality, well-priced on-cycle support stack. I have links below to everything. Thanks for watching. Thanks for your support. So we have a bunch more stuff, including a physique critique. Who's this? Let me find these pictures. Who do we have here, Andrew?
Which one did I give you?
We'll grab these pictures here. Let's see.
Make sure I say his name right.
Is this Rob?
Oh yeah, Rob Van Sant.
Yes,
it's a cool name. That's a cool name,
dude. He should be like an actor
or a wrestler or something. Or
like Rob Van Dam.
Yeah, it's like that, isn't it? Yeah.
But I went to school with Rob, by the way. But anyway, that's a different.
He got his pro card at the 2021 NPC USA's.
Okay,
and I can't remember how many pro shows he's done. I know I think he's from the East Coast because I feel like he did the Eastern USA's like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. Okay. I think he won the overall there. But he wanted a physique critique, so.
And I really like the detail in the front of his quad. Like that. It's just like all twisted and gnarly looking.
Yeah.
I like that.
I was going to say, there's almost crickets from me and Skip when there's someone with a much better physique than
right.
There's a lot to appreciate here. He has really good genetics, and I'll say too, for our audio people, I mean, you can see what we're looking at here is a well-developed young bodybuilder. Like his muscle looks young too. Like he's got, like he could keep growing if he wants to. Like he's got a lot ahead of him. You know, fantastic quads, really nice shape. Let me ask you guys this. So when when judges do a critique, they always start with their strengths. What do you guys see as Rob's strengths?
Well, I mean, obviously his structure. I can see a little bit of his calves too. But,
those calves look
shoulders,
nasty.
Yeah, shoulders. And it's funny because you said that he clearly does have good quads, good shape, which is a huge bonus.
Yeah.
But I would also say that I don't want to jump to the weaknesses. Let's stay with the
positives
first.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't see any major strengths because I just see kind of a really good balance overall, especially in that front shot. And you know what? This is probably the biggest genetic gift he has because he's in his off season, I believe. The fact that he stays fairly lean, the same throughout his whole body. The only place I see that he holds a little bit of body fat is the glutes. But I mean, you could show me that front picture and be like, oh, he's 5 weeks out, and I'd be like, yep, definitely.
Yeah,
maybe even closer, actually.
Yeah,
but I want to jump to the weakness. The biggest weakness I see is his back.
Yep,
I think he needs to add more lats and teres there to increase that V taper, and it actually will just help from the front because he has a really nice vacuum. Probably not the smallest waist in the world, but small enough with that vacuum that with a little bit more lats from the front and back, it's just going to blow that shot away.
Yeah, that'll make him a lot more wild.
If you took everything the same on his upper body, and he didn't increase anything except his back width and the lats as well, it would make a huge difference. Now that takes me to the legs though, and I don't want to be the guy. I don't want to. Again, this is tough because he's got a better physique than I do. But even though he's got really good shape in his quads and his hams, I do think that there is plenty of room for more size.
Yeah.
You know what it is?
I mean, if I go legs and back, I'm like, dude, it would make a huge difference moving forward.
Yeah. It's almost like the attachment, on the outside of the kneecap. If it was just a little bit lower there, I think that might change your opinion a little bit. But more size overall. Yeah, back and legs.
I got a couple.
I will say
How
this.
tall is he?
Oh, shit. I don't know.
Because it's coming from the countertop where he's doing, and I don't know, he kind of looks
taller because think about how tall a stove is. I think stoves are generally going to all be about the same height, aren't they?
Yeah.
And he's maybe a foot from the stove, would you say? I feel like the stove. I feel like the stove comes up to my waist. It's like he's like 4 inches taller than me. I think.
Yeah.
I bet he's 5'10".
I'd see that maybe. Yeah. 5'10", 5'11", somewhere in there.
Yeah.
How tall are you, Andrew? You're taller than that, right?
6'2.5", but now I'm 6'1 3/4", I guess.
Yeah. I'm going to see. We've got a couple more pictures I'll throw up here. We've got an ab shot here. Let's see. And then we've got a side shot too. Let's see. Blow that up a little bit. And then here's this side chest shot as well. All right.
Yeah, I stick with the lats.
Look at his leg from the side.
Yeah, side shot looks really good. But I still say the lats, lats in the ab thigh shot will really blow that up and make it a whole new shot for him.
Yeah.
And I'll say this because I looked at a lot of his contest pics on his Instagram. Biggest knock I would have on him is got to find a way to get those glutes in at the pro level. I think everything else is nice. I think he just holds a little bit extra there.
Yeah.
Because everything else is peeled everywhere else. And I know it's not a glute and hamstring contest and the trunks cover up most of it, but it is a little bit distracting. So I think, just pushing diets just a little bit harder or trying something else to try to get them to come in a little bit more. Because from the side, he looks great. From the front, he looks great.
It can be deceptive when everything else is looking that good. You know what I mean? Like
that's what I mean. Yeah,
it can be. No, I mean it can be deceptive when you're dieting and everything else is looking that good. That and that I don't know. It's a trick. It's a trick. Saying, sometimes you have to even sacrifice everything else to get them to come in, but maybe a longer diet and then take a little time filling out. I don't know.
I was going to say deceptive in the sense that because everything is so dialed in and conditioned that the one area that isn't just dry peeled sticks out more the other way like a sore thumb. That's kind of where I was going with that.
I could see that. All right. What do you guys say we jump into some listener questions? I know we've got a few floating around here. Let's see. And if anybody I'm going to run to this one because Alfonso was so nice to provide us with legal counsel. In order to keep him from sending us a bill, I'm going to bring his question up because he had something. I think it was related to the assault bike. So while I dig up the other ones, you guys can talk about this one. He says, any thoughts on the assault bike improving ability to do higher rep squats, 15 to 20? I've added assault bike hit intervals, just 4 to 5 minutes of 10-20 20 intervals, and I think it's actually improving my squat. I was already doing other HIIT with the rower and lifts with a stationary bike. I'm at 180 minutes a week, 90 lifts and 90 HIIT. Man, that's a lot of cardio.
What the hell is an assault bike?
It's like a spin bike, but you know, like the ones that Rogue sells. They're a little more comfortable to sit on, and they can give you more resistance.
Don't they have like the fan?
They got the fan, yeah.
They have the fan, and they have the handles. They have the
And
that's an assault bike.
Yeah, it's like what the CrossFit people use.
Okay, because I've seen those Schwinn you used to make those back in the 80s.
Yeah, exactly. They're back. Okay. Yeah, they're back. Okay. And they're nice. Like they have ones with magnetic wheels and stuff. They're good. They're good nowadays.
Huh.
Yeah. Okay, so he's asking, any thoughts on the assault bike's improving the ability to do higher rep squats, 15 to 20 reps? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, think about it. You're just increasing your work capacity like tenfold by adding something like HIIT in. So anything that's intense, that's, you know, we call squats a leg workout. I think it's a full body exercise. When you're doing 15 to 20 reps and you're grinding out a Widowmaker, absolutely. So yeah, you just increase your work capacity 100% there.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I can't disagree with that.
Who was it?
We were talking about that, Scott. Well, it was when I was rehabbing. We were talking about the recumbent bike and doing HIIT on that. And it's funny because I still, now that I don't have my knee issues anymore, but I'm not convinced that they're not still there. But I always start off with my backwards walking, and then I do my recumbent bike, and I take the intensity up to the point where I'm literally blowing, like I've got a pump in my quads as I not race, but I get my shit and get to the hack or get to whatever I'm going to open with first, so that when I start on there, I've already got a pump and there's a lot of blood in my knees and my legs.
Nice.
So over time, it'll be interesting to see how hard I can go with that, especially now that I'm going to be more of a surplus, where before I was in, this deficit that was massive. And even then I was getting stronger, but I could tell that my capacity, my lung capacity wasn't as, I don't know, just what it's, from not training legs for so long, I think I've really struggled with that. So it'll be interesting to see how that comes back, but I'm going to use that. It's similar. It's not an assault bike, but it's a similar process, just to see if that's going to help at all with oxygen uptake. Because, I mean, come on, when you usually, well, maybe it's just me, but a lot of people fail because of their lungs before they do their legs. And I know that's the position I'm in right now. So until I'm able to get back and start really burying leg sessions, it's going to be my lungs for a while as I build them up before it's my legs that actually fail.
Do you guys remember, or have you heard Jean-Pierre Fuchs talk about his crazy leg training? He would get on the bike for like 5 minutes and just ride, or however long, I can't remember, but it was a short duration. And then he'd just run over to the squat bar and he'd do a set like that. VJ was doing that for a while. And that would be
back and forth, brutal. Like each set?
Yeah. Like he would get on the bike.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he'd go. Wow. And then he'd go get on and go do squats right after that.
This kind of made a comeback a couple years ago. The biking, like high intensity sets for quad growth. I don't remember exactly who. Maybe Matt Jansen put it out like 10 or 12 years ago or something like that, when he was kind of first, newer in the sport. Yeah. And I noticed a lot of other guys kind of started doing that. I don't think they were going back and forth from like squat rack to leg extension, squat or to recumbent bike or whatever.
Yeah,
but there was something about like some cyclist training and some muscle hypertrophy that they were getting. And so people were trying to like incorporate that as like an exercise, like 4 sets of like 45 seconds to start off their quad training routine or something like that.
Okay. Andrew Nolan.
You get a crazy pump.
Andrew added sled, pull, and push would be great for squat strength. And he says this is coming from a competitive power lifter. That's interesting. That is brutal too, man. When you start like digging down, you have to get low. You know what I mean? When you get real low and you push with your legs, those sleds can be a lot of fun.
The pushing I always found to be really, really calf heavy.
I could see that.
So, so I didn't come back to it until when I had knee problems and I started pulling. And that was one of the first things that I did and was able to do because there was a relatively limited range of motion, or you could limit the range of motion, I guess is a better way to put it. And that helped me to get my first couple minimal pumps when I was still having a lot of knee pain and recovering from that.
Right on. All right, let's see what else we have here. So I'm going to grab these from YouTube, and I know we have some at Facebook. I think I have some from Patreon as well. He says, question for the next show regarding blood sugar regulation. So my morning blood sugar seems to run in the mid to high 90s, which is higher than I'd like. I test first thing in the morning, usually after a glass of water, and the time between my last meal and when I test is around 9 hours. What's interesting to me is that my postprandial blood sugar is always in the high 70s and mid 80s, 1 to 2 hours after meals. So my question is, should I be concerned with the slightly higher fasted blood glucose if my postprandial blood glucose is good? Am I just experiencing the dawn phenomenon? I know you probably need more context and a better look at my diet to truly answer this, but my diet is good. Carbs are around 400 grams, and 60% of them are pre, intra, and post-workout. Non-training days, carbs are 275. Thanks, guys. Love the show and appreciate all you do.
So my answer is maybe. Maybe because, I mean, well, on the positive side, he said his postprandial and post-absorptive glucose is, right where you want it to be. Yeah. And what that really means is your body's ready to accept the next meal, right? Yeah. The blood glucose level is down in that 70 to 80 range. Your cells are now receptive again to the effects of insulin and carbs. And one thing we should probably talk about, because we always talk about blood sugar and everything. We never talk about why 90 milligrams per deciliter is a good number, right? Okay. And it's because that's what the brain requires constantly to react optimally. Okay. So everything is controlled by the brain. That's why, when people are like, well, why does it matter if I'm 99 or 100 versus 90? Like, why has it got to be 90? So I always try to point that out to people. But now, so on the positive end, his postprandial and his post-absorptive metabolism is good, but he's still waking up high. I'm not so keen on necessarily saying it's the dawn phenomenon. And I used to be like, oh, it's just dawn phenomenon. But it could be that his body is stuck in some sort of fight or flight response, meaning cortisol levels are too high. Now I'll be honest, if we did see that in the morning, we would probably see similar patterns of that throughout the day as well. But basically, when you're stuck in fight or flight, you're pushing out cortisol. Cortisol causes the liver to dump glucose. Your blood sugar stays higher more than it should. And there's an easy way to test for that. There's a company called ZRT, which does a diurnal cortisol test where you spit in a tube. You can either do it once or you can do the 4 times throughout the day. I like people to do the 4 times throughout the day so I can see what's going on with their cortisol throughout the day. It should be higher in the morning and then drop throughout the day and be lowest, somewhere around midnight. And you don't necessarily have to be high all the time. You can be high at a couple different points. You could be high at all your points, or you could be normal, or you could even be low, But I do think that is just one thing to take into consideration here. But beyond that, I would say, are you progressing? Are you looking good? Or do you feel like you're getting a good response? Are you getting good pumps in the gym? If that's the case, then I wouldn't really worry too much about it.
Totally missed the whole damn thing. I just had to look at my mic to make sure it was on, because I would hate to be like all animated and you can't hear me. Anyway, the one thing, because I didn't even catch the whole question, one thing I will say is this, and I wonder if, I would assume you guys would back me up on this, but hell, who knows? You can run higher, with blood sugar levels and everything else, and still make crazy fucking gains, and you can still get crazy lean. It's just not optimal. And I mean, I've seen some pretty bad situations where I've literally looked and gone, damn, like how maybe these numbers aren't even right. Like, how can they be progressing?
I think we know the guy you're talking about too. One guy in particular you were telling us about, it was like using growth and peptides particularly, was having like really difficult time. Could this guy, he's not?
Oh yeah. He was real high. That's true. But that's not the only reason I say that. I mean, even people who are just running high and they're they're just, I don't want to say obsessive about it, because you don't, you do want your blood sugar levels running optimally and running where they're supposed to, but not like, oh shit, man, I'm going to die in 10 minutes. I mean, that's kind of sometimes things are not going, I'm going to have diabetes tomorrow. It is something you need to get a hold of, but there's time to figure out what's going on. It doesn't have to be figured out right now or tomorrow. You just need to be on it to find these patterns and play with things and tweak things, and we'll get it figured out. But that's a good Manny is a good example for sure, because he ran so high. But I've had other clients not run that high, don't get me wrong, but other clients who aren't running optimally, and a lot of times it doesn't get in the way like you think it would.
Yeah, I've seen it where people
they're just so gifted that it does. I don't know.
I've seen it where people didn't even know they had an issue until they're like, "Hey, I decided, I got a glucose monitor. How do I use this?" I've had people, just random people, tell me that, and they never knew they had a problem. They've been going their whole life, and everything seemed fine. Sometimes it is a problem, and the first question I always ask people too, do you have any history, and sometimes they're like, oh, my mom's a diabetic, type 1. And it's like, oh, okay, well, we really want to pay attention to that then, Obviously this might be a different case. I wanted to ask you a question, Andrew, about the cortisol thing. So if that was the case, would it still go down during the day? Because his reactive... Sure. So he could still get those lower levels, those low readings.
Well, so that's what I was saying.
Okay, yeah.
So it tests you at 4 different points throughout the day at regular intervals.
Yeah.
And there's the baseline and a range. So when you get the sheet, I'm trying to show you.
Yeah.
Where am I? So it's not just like one line, right? It's like a what do you call it? Like a shaded area, where anything in between those lines is considered normal. Okay. So you could absolutely be high, at 2 a.m. and then back in range throughout the rest of the day, that kind of thing.
How expensive is that test?
$120, I think.
Okay.
So it's not something that I'm like, hey, every new client, you need to get this test done. It's
I'd be curious as all. That's why I was just kind of interested myself.
Yeah. And it'd actually be interesting to do, say, in the summertime versus the wintertime, especially where in the Northeast or where you live, where it's dark out much earlier and stays darker out, because that plays a role in it as well. So, I mean, there's tons of factors. But I was going to ask you, in terms of the blood sugar, do you guys ask for blood sugar every check-in, or is it more like you see how things are going? Let's say you got a long-term client, and you just start to get this kind of little spidey sense, like, hey, let's take a blood sugar reading tomorrow or next time you check in, and because something just starting to add up that, I think we need to pull back a little bit. Or are you just literally every week all right, I want blood sugar every single check-in?
I ask for it now if I think something's up, which is odd, because not odd, but I used to have blood sugar, temperature, tons of that stuff early on, years ago. And I think I just got to the point where the things that didn't, I don't know how else to say this, but the things that didn't usually, it ended up being worthless information the large majority of the time, that I just phased it out. Honestly, really without even meaning to. It's not like I went one day, I don't need this anymore. It was just, it got phased out over time. But there are times where it is, like you say, almost like a spidey sense, something's not right. What's up? Let's look at a few other things. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I've done the same. It's not something I require every time. That said, I do have clients that like to keep their eye on it, and they do send it literally every time. Yeah. But it is interesting.
Which is a good point, because I have the same thing. I do have a lot of clients who do it without me asking them to do it. That's a good point.
And I will try to get it at certain points, say we're getting ready to start a push, that's a great time to be like, okay, let's see where you're at. We'll get a baseline here.
What kind of push? What's that?
we're going to start I don't like using the word bulk anymore,
Yeah, me neither.
So we're going to start an upward push. We're going to start an upward push. How about that?
I'll use the word bulk with my clients that are 18 to 23.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we need to have at least one good, solid perma-bulk era in your training career. So you know what it is, what it feels like to really slam food.
Yeah.
And I do think there's a lot to be said about putting on good size. I don't think you can do it continuously. I think we all agree that just putting on unneeded body fat is worthless. But I do think that in your early formative years that, for lack of better terms, perma-bulk of 12 to 16 months of just being big and as large as you can, eating as much as you can. I do think that kind of at least teaches you how to be a bodybuilder. I will say that.
Sure.
You know,
the problem or the obstacle with doing that is the large percentage, very, very large majority of people, even when they're young, they want to be lean. They want to stay lean. And that was so different 15 years ago.
Yeah, it is.
15 years ago, it's like, I'll fucking go big. And I know even myself, like I was cool with it. I look back at pictures, I'm like, I could not tolerate myself with a face like that now. Like, what the fuck? So it's just a completely different approach than it was years ago.
Hey, we've got a check-in question. Check this out. UC Suma, client of mine, he says, question for the next episode. Check-in pictures. Should they be taken immediately upon waking? Should you pose one round first? Any fluids? He's asking because I'm so diligent and I crack the whip and I'm like, you're not allowed to do anything. Take those goddamn pictures the minute you wake up, you son of a bitch.
Oh, not even going to the bathroom?
No, I'm kidding. Yeah, no, you.
Yeah, I say wake, pee, weigh.
Yeah, I just don't want to
wake, pee, weigh, pics.
Yeah, I don't.
That's what I say.
Yeah. I just say first thing, whatever first thing means without eating, Yeah,
I think it's kind of open. If you're someone that always gets up and the first thing you want to do is have a glass of water first thing in the morning, I'm not going to be like, don't drink that glass of water. It's totally ruining your dryness or whatever, If that's just your routine and you do it every time, then fine. Just you want to recreate the scenario the same every time.
Have you ever had guys or girls, have you ever had clients that for them, it's just not going to be doable, like first thing in the morning, where they're like, you know what? I can't do them first thing in the morning. I wake up at 2:30 a.m. and I literally have to get out my door and blah, blah, blah. I can shoot them, after work when I get to the gym, something like that. What do you guys think about a situation like that?
I'd much rather have them because they're just, it's a much better assessment if there aren't other variables in there. I'll get the client every now and then who can't, but by and large, I mean, I can't remember the last time I had somebody that said that they couldn't do them until later. Now they might not get them that one morning and they're like, I'm really sorry, I'll get them tomorrow morning. So I typically, because I have skip loading, so I would rather take a look at my client's condition when they are the most depleted or the most, the flattest. So if they load on a Sunday, then I want them on Friday morning. That way they have a day if something comes up, and then we can look at them Saturday morning. Saturday morning is better, but yet at the same time, if I have a client who sometimes may not be able to get that done, you even go Friday to Saturday. If you have a wife who gets up with you and takes your pictures, she may not want to get out of bed Saturday morning when your fat ass wants to take pictures, and she'll be mad at you. So, there's variables in there and things like that.
Be like, okay, I link a tripod with a battery or a clicker. I'm like, buy this one. It's $43. You're telling me with everything you spend money on in the sport, it isn't worth it to you to spend $43 to not have to wake your wife up and make her mad at you for waking her up at 5 a.m. or whatever.
I encourage people. You had given us your whole explanation on check-in pictures, Andrew. I didn't even share what I tell people. I was like, listen, if you can't shoot the pictures yourself, like use a self-timer, I have people just use the video feature and then take screen caps. Which I didn't. I forgot to mention it. Somebody did mention that in the comments afterward. But I'm a huge fan of be self-sufficient. Don't rely on anybody else to do your stuff. Your pictures. And I'll go as far as to say, like, hey, that's really great that your wife's willing to like take part of your prep and cook your food. But I'm all for cooking my own food too, as much as I can. I've seen too many people get
making a fucking example. That's all I was doing.
What?
God, go easy. It was just an example. You guys suck. God.
I don't know. I feel like I've seen people, wives get resentments when they've been cooking rice for 20 weeks for real.
No, I think your point about doing as much of it yourself and not expecting, I guess, your partner to do any of it for you. I think if they offer to help or something like that, that's great. But I mean, this is you're only going on stage by yourself. You're not bringing them with you. So, you're the only one that can train. You're the only one that can do the cardio. So you might as well, cover all aspects of that as well. But I would say this about the people that, all right, so it's kind of a gauge of seriousness to me on if I say fasted, I want fasted pics, and someone's like, oh, well, like I've had people say like, oh, but I got to be at work at 8:00. And in my mind, like there's a million fucking cannons going off in my head. Like, okay, so get up 5 minutes earlier than you normally would and take the damn pics at 6 o'clock, But I'll tell you a story. back in 2017, I was 2 weeks out from a show, and Nate wanted to go to the New York Pro, and I already told him I'd go to the New York Pro with him that year, and I had to go pick him up, and it's a 6-hour drive for us, right? I got up, and I still had 45 minutes of cardio and my check-ins with Meadows that day. It was a Saturday. I got up at 2 o'clock in the morning. I drove over to the place where I was doing my check-in pictures. I drove back home and did my cardio for 45 minutes or whatever it was. Showered, did all my meals, got in the car. I was on the road by 4:45 or something like that. Okay. To go pick up Nate to go. My point with that is that, like, when you really want to get something done, there's nothing that's going to shortage of a bomb exploding in your house that's going to stop you from getting it done. And so I use it kind of as a gauge of seriousness. If people come up with like excuses like, oh, I've got this or something like that morning, is it okay if I check? I'm like, you couldn't have woken up 7 minutes earlier to go snap those pictures. Really? Like that's what's going to hold us back here. So that's just my take on it.
I appreciate that for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see if we can squeeze in one more question here. Man, this is okay. This is going to be potentially not just like a little quick question, but we'll see. Also, we had some funny comments. Omar said, my wife would shoot me if I woke her up at 3 a.m. And Steve totally agreed with that.
Omar goes and trains it. He trains at like 4 in the morning. You guys should check out follow him on Instagram. Dude, he's like pressing like 140s for like 10 reps at 4:30 in the morning. He's squatting 5 plates. Like I got to give him major props because that's like way more hardcore than I've ever been.
He's got an incredible physique too. Like he looks really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So Neven, one of our longtime followers, part of the Patreon, he says, great episode. Question for the next episode. What are the best ways to tell if you are overtrained? Is resting heart rate when you first wake up a good indicator?
That last one's a little tricky. It can be, but it's not like, oh, my resting heart rate's up. Now I'm overtraining. I got to take a week off. I mean, it's not. I used to look at it a little bit more black and white than it actually is, which is funny because, and I don't want to go off on a tangent, but this brings up other things like HRV and things like that, where, you know, depending on who you talk to, those things are important, and and then other people don't think they're very important. Honestly, I don't know about HRV, but I can tell you with the resting heart rate, it's not. It can be an indicator, but it's not a black and white type thing. Overtraining. I mean, I always say the most obvious signs for me, and I have to go with me because I don't know what even my clients feel when they're overtrained. Obviously, the first one is a regression or a very clear and obvious stabilization of progress in the gym from a strength standpoint. But there's caveats to that, because you could be dieting, you could be in a cut phase, you could be, you know, if it's a workout later, you know, 10 days after an increase in calories, you're more depleted, things like that. But when you don't want to go to the gym for a few days, you're probably, the large majority of us are overtrained because we want to go to the gym. So there's a loss of motivation, and appetite is in there too. If you're not hungry, I mean, unless you're just, again, there's caveats to everything. If you're just forcing and choking down food, you're probably not going to be very hungry. But if you're just on your regular diet and you've been hungry and you're putting down the food, and then you just within a week or so, you're not hungry and you're choking down the same amount of food, that's a pretty clear indicator too. Those are the ones that come to my mind. What do you guys think?
I think the easiest one is what you touched on is it, you know, are you going to the gym to work out, or do you want to go to the gym to train? You know, I think, you know, are you just doing it because you're obsessive compulsive and it's Thursday and I do my back on Thursday, or you're like, okay, last week I did this and today I want to try to go in and beat that, but whatever it is, you know, I think that's the first thing. Blood sugar, you know, we just talked about blood sugar, but that can be an indicator if you're stuck in fight or flight and you need a deload. Are you regressing in the gym? Like, not just on one exercise. Are you regressing multiple days in a row in terms of, I could do 7 plates on the hack squat for 10 last week, and this week I could barely get.
It's huge. It's huge.
Yeah, I can only get 6 plates for 8, and my body was just spent. And then the next day I tried to train chest, and instead of the 130-pound dumbbells, man, the 115s felt like they were the heaviest things I ever picked up. Are you getting a pump? When you get to the gym and you actually start training and moving blood around, are your muscles feeling like they're engorging, or are they just kind of just staying flat? So I think those are probably the 3 easiest things that you can kind of pick up on.
Yeah, I'd agree with all that. All right, guys. Well, listen, we got to wrap this thing up. We appreciate everybody tuning in. For your live viewers, we're recording another episode, so hang out with us. We got some fun stuff. Next episode is going to be about DHB and a bunch of steroid stuff. All the fun stuff. Thank you guys for tuning in. As I said, thank you everybody who helps to support the programming through Patreon. Thank you to Skip and Andrew for hanging out with us. You guys can reach out to them for coaching. Go to teamskip.com. You can go to bodyberry.com. You can reach me, mcnallydiets@gmail.com. Drop me an email. And check out our sponsors, truenutrition.com. Use our code THINK for additional savings. Like I've always said, reach out to me if you have any questions about their supplements, about any of their flavors. Supplementsource.ca for those of you in Canada, and go to Strom Sports Nutrition if you are in the UK. They've got some awesome health supplements over there. For another episode of Blood, Sweat, and Gear with Skip Hill, Andrew Berry, I'm Scott McNally, and we will see you next time. Thanks for tuning in.